Hey everyone, welcome to the Spiritual Freedom Support Call number 30. How's everyone doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm good.
Having a lot of trouble
Hi,
with
Christine.
Zoom.
How are you? How so?
I had to try 4 times, download it 4 times, 4 different
Huh.
Zooms
Odd.
before it would connect me.
Brenda, did you message me? Because I got something on my phone before I connected, but
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was messaging it. Are you in? I was thinking maybe I put in the wrong numbers or something.
No. I was just
Because I'm
waiting.
just sitting there.
No. I was just waiting till I was getting all set up.
Oh, okay.
So, everyone's doing well this week?
Yeah,
Good.
doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Everything's great here. I don't think there's anything new here, Christine?
Not really,
Did you do
no.
anything last week? I don't think so either. I'm excited for this weekend's podcast. Is going to be a really good. We just recorded it yesterday, and it's going to be a really good one. I'm really excited about this one, so that'll be exciting. I did change my. Oh, by the way, can everyone hear me? Okay, loud enough.
Uh-huh.
You can
Yeah.
hear me too?
And Christine is loud enough.
Yes.
Okay. Christine doesn't have.
What's that clinking in the back? Is that your coffee cup,
That
Christine?
is Fran.
That's not
Me.
me.
I'm sorry. It's dinner time here.
That
Oh,
is-
So
okay.
I'm eating a
Okay.
sandwich. Sorry.
You are not allowed to eat a sandwich.
I'll try to keep it down.
Oh, you're fine.
It's okay. So one thing we did do, I changed my posting schedule because
Again.
Because what do you mean, again,
I'm just
I haven't changed it for a while.
True.
It's been the way it is forever.
You're right.
Because I just thought there's been so much new stuff lately that a few people mentioned, and I even felt myself maybe things were moving a little too quickly. So I decided to do one post, one support call, one podcast a week. Plus, it's nice and symmetrical, which I like. It's everything's 1-1-1. It was driving me nuts having 2 posts, 1 podcast, 1 support call, and I'm like, it's not balanced. So, but yeah, now everything is say 3 posts a week. So I'm happy about that. I think it's a good change. And hey,
Sorry.
taking my headphone. Did you guys see the astrology podcast on Saturday? It was the second part of that podcast.
I didn't get a chance to yet,
You didn't
no.
get a chance to yet. That
Me
was a lot of
neither.
fun too. I think Justin will be here in a minute, by the way. So he told me he was running a little bit late. But that was a lot of fun too. We were talking about the. I recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. We were talking about the outer planets, the collective planets, and how they influence our lives. The energies, the archetypal energies, I guess, of those planets. So that was a really good discussion, I think, especially in application to the law of attraction. You liked that one, Christine, didn't you?
Yes.
That hurts. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun too. So, one last thing before we get started with anything else. I will send out a link to this later, but I am definitely doing an Art of Reality Creation 2.0 class beginning in April. I have decided it will begin April 1st, most likely. Okay, because
April Fool's Day.
I know. It falls on a Saturday, though, so it's just perfect. But because, the last one was, September? And there's just been so much since then. And when I told Christine when we were talking about this was, it's not that what I said before isn't true. It's just that it's clarified and there's more added. Like the technique in that class is very, very valid. It'll likely be very similar to that technique that I teach here. Just some parts added, some different understandings added, some things clarified. So I don't want people to think because they got the first one, that they're missing out. But I am going to do something where everyone who did the first one, because I want to make sure you can, get the most updated information, will get 50% off of the second one if you choose to get the second one. Okay, so that's just because I figure that, so you can still get all the information and all that kind of stuff. So anyone who bought the first class, whether during the live version or after the fact, lots of people have gotten it since then, you will get 50% off of the second one. So I think that'll be fun. So I'm going to send a link for that in a day or two. Did you say something, Fran?
No.
Okay. I thought someone said something.
No, I said cool.
Oh, yeah. You said cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I've been writing down ideas. I started yesterday writing down some ideas. So I'm really, really excited about this one. I think I feel a lot of positive energy around it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Probably 3 weeks again, I'm thinking. But I think it'll be really exciting. So that's
Cool.
That's what's on the agenda coming up. So,
Hey.
it'll be fun. I'm excited. And I have a lot of useful metaphors. Hi, Justin.
Hey, I don't know what was up with. I tried to launch it with Mozilla and it wouldn't work.
Oh, really? You're way far away. Do you have your microphone?
Oh, wait a minute.
You sound like you're in like
You
China.
Not plugged in. Hold on.
You sound like you're like speaking through
Water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds wrong to me. What's up with you guys? I just can't hear.
It's your microphone.
yeah.
Blaming us? There you go. Clarity is achieved. Hi, Justin. How are you doing?
Fine.
Good. If you can get a little closer to the microphone, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Cool. So anyway, I was telling everyone about the updated Art of Reality Creation class. So I was going to say that I came up with some new metaphors that I think will really help with understanding the stuff. Some extra NLP applications. If you remember, I did a lot of NLP in the first class, but there's going to be some more specific applications of it for the creation process in the 2.0 version. So I'm excited. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So keep up to, keep watching the mailing list. If you're not there already, you can sign up on the website. But
Yeah.
I think most people who watch this are on the mailing list. It'll be on the website too, but you'll get most information on the mailing list. And so that'll be it going out in a couple days. I'm excited about that. We're still trying to figure out the best time to have it because if Christine still is working at the church, we can't have it at like 3 or 3:30 because then she couldn't be a part of it. So we're trying to figure out the best time. So that will
Hopefully I find out about that soon.
hopefully that would be.
Do it in the
be
evenings.
nice. I'm sorry?
Just do it in the evenings, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 8 p.m. is my very, my current guess. So that's my best guess right now, but it's very, very, it's too early to really tell yet.
Yeah, have it whenever's best for you. I'll get in on it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And I'll look at, the people who are definitely interested because, I really want people to be there, it's because of the techniques that are involved and the exercises.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, see what time works for everyone who's going to join, especially the first several registrants. So if you want to make sure you can get there, sign up early so that you can get that. So yeah, it'll be fun. Anyway.
I was going to say, you know how you said you couldn't think of anything that changed? We went to see the Shack.
Oh, yes. Thank you. We went to see, you guys hear the movie The Shack that just came out?
I heard something about that it was a spiritual movie.
I don't know.
Yes, it's a spiritual. I read
What's
the book.
it about?
It's basically about a guy who lost his daughter, and how old was she?
Like 6 or 7.
Like 6-year-old daughter, I don't know, and gets really, really mad at God and traditional religion basically, and basically gets a letter from God to meet at the place where his daughter was discovered. Well, evidence of her anyway. It's a long story. So it was, he went up there and basically spent the weekend with God, and it was a really interesting movie.
Did you go to a theater or was
Yes.
it on?
It's in the theaters.
Went to the
Yeah.
theater, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Who
It's
stars
You
in
don't
it?
have audio description.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. What's her name? Octavia.
Oh, Octavia Spencer.
Yes. Thank you.
She's a very good actress.
Yeah, she was because God was portrayed as a woman
Yes.
for most of the movie.
Oh,
So she was God the, I guess, mother.
Mother.
uh-huh.
So and then I don't know who played Jesus or the Holy Spirit. I don't really know. But it was a good movie. I'm not into Christian stuff, but it wasn't like overtly religious, which, it was all about tolerance and acceptance, and it was very open-minded. I loved it. I liked that a lot about it. So that was a
Sounds
good
good. I'd like
that
to
was a
see
good
that.
movie.
Christianity's tolerant, open-minded, and everything else.
Yeah, well, some people are.
Not everybody.
Some people are. I've had some bad experiences.
Oh, he's had lots of
I
trauma.
had tons of bad experiences. How about that?
That's why I was saying it like that.
Yes. No, but it was really good though. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. We don't get to the movie theater too often, but I like to go sometime. If there's a really good movie, then I like to go to the theater. It's always fun. So yeah, I recommend seeing that. It was good. It was really good. You enjoyed it too, Christine.
I
didn't you?
loved it.
It was really good. All right. So, what questions do we have today? I have some topics I'll discuss later, but what questions are we coming with today? Any questions to begin with?
I have one.
Okay. I didn't say you could ask a question. Thank you.
Well, too bad,
I thought I heard your cat in the background too, Brent.
I didn't hear it. No,
It's not mine.
I don't
Not
think
ours.
I heard a cat.
Not
I
mine.
heard a squeaking noise. I don't.
It's
might have-
me. It's me. I'm sort of just eating.
Oh,
I know it's not very, my etiquette, but it's dinner time and I'm starving.
That's
You
okay.
got, oh, okay. Have a
I
little
was sneezing,
TV.
so I muted myself. I didn't want to sneeze
Should
in the
I mute
microphone.
myself? Would I be able to
No,
still talk?
no. Well, you can't ask a question if you mute
you
yourself.
mute
I mean,
That's
yourself,
true.
people will not be able to
unless
hear
you really want to put my telepathic abilities to the test.
Yeah.
Then I
So,
can make up
It
anything.
doesn't bother
That's right.
us that you're eating.
So if I could, if you were just talking and I could mute myself and still listen, right? But I couldn't say anything.
You couldn't say anything, but you don't have to mute
Right.
yourself, and it doesn't
We
bother
don't
anyone.
care. It's just a call.
We're just like picking on you. It's fun.
I know.
Oh my God.
That's okay, because I'll get back at you.
Oh, they pick
I
on
know.
me. I'm easily pickable too.
Easily
Yeah.
pick-onable.
Oh, I'll be pickable. Yeah.
I don't know. Pickable's not the right word.
That's pickable. I like that word. Okay, my
That's you.
question is, this is regarding a blog you did several weeks ago. Well, maybe longer. It was the one about trusting the universe.
Oh, yeah, that was just last week.
That was last week.
Only last week?
How to trust
Are
in the
you-
universe.
That was actually,
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay. Well, anyway, I read it today, and
Yeah.
it was great.
Thank you.
Had some really interesting insights in there. And I think I told you I love the way you've got the images.
Oh, yeah, I was
The
going to ask
photos.
Christine because I heard you guys talking about it. Yeah,
and
because
it's
my,
right.
I have my graphics person. I tell him, please put in a title because otherwise the blind people of the who read the
But
site
it's
won't
more
be able
than
to
just that.
read them. Yeah, but for us it is just that. But anyway, my posts have been longer lately. I really apologize. I can't shut up, and I figure the trade-off is fewer posts but longer posts. I can't shut up. I really can't. And
Well, the
my-
images make it easier.
my posts lately have been 3,000 or 4,000 words. I don't know. I can't shut it off before that. I can't shut off the tap. It just keeps coming and coming. I'm like, I was writing a post, the recent post that I just posted yesterday, the spell post. That was like 2,700 words. I'm like, I still have like 3 more sections to cover. So, yeah, that was. So I figured breaking it up with images would probably help keep people's attention better.
Well, he put some really good photos in there, and it kind of went with what you were writing really well.
Yeah. Well, we always discuss. We meet up and discuss over Zoom what images will work best in each section, and so come up with ideas, brainstorm ideas for that kind of stuff. So I try to make them relevant. So I appreciate it, though. I'm glad you noticed.
I really love seeing the moon when I come in.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Because I was wondering today. I wonder where. I saw it last night, and somebody had said there's a full moon, and there is no full moon yet.
Not yet.
It's
No,
not even close.
Full moon is
probably next week.
the 12th.
Yeah.
But just seeing it every day, it's kind of comforting. See where it is and what planet it's in, what sign
Cancer
it's in.
right now.
In Cancer, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's really
I've been
nice.
wanting to do that for months, and especially as I mixed in the more magical components, I've been wanting to do that because the moon is so magical,
Yeah.
and so I've been really wanting to put that in there. So I finally I was trying to find a pre-existing solution, but I had to program all that myself because there really wasn't anything good out there.
You did a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, it sets the website off from others.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope it does.
I mean, I've seen ones with cats and, just the usual.
Right.
But you know what one I'm talking about.
Yes.
And this is more elegant kind of.
My
It's
two
classy.
themes. Thank you. My two themes are, I love the universe, like astronomy, astrology. That kind of. So that's the moon, like and mixed with magic. That's why I love astrology.
Yeah.
And most of my pictures, if you notice, are nature based. I love
nature. Yeah.
nature based. I love nature, so I always try to find stuff based in nature.
And
That's
nature is
99%
very
of my images.
spiritual.
Exactly right. So most of my images are very nature based, and so I try to keep that theme going. So, and that's magical too.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
So, here's my question.
Yes.
You wrote a lot about the ego.
Yes.
In this one, and you mentioned several times about the ego. Keeping it in balance. It's not all bad, as long as you're the one in control, and you use it as a tool. And that particular sentence, using it as a tool, you used a few times, but could you specify what you mean by that? I mean, you might have talked about that in another post way back, but I just don't remember if you did. I'm sorry. And I really wanted to get some clarification on using ego. What does that mean to use it as a tool? What would you do to change when you're trying to change it around, the whole dynamic around, so that you're the one in control, not the ego?
Right. It's just basically the reason I emphasize it so much is because, I come from, let's say, an Eastern background because I studied non-duality for so long, and in non-dual circles, the ego is pretty much demonized. Now, people deny this, but if you really look at it, the ego is more or less demonized. Okay, it's made out to be everything horrible about the person.
So
I don't agree with that at all.
In Course of Miracles, it is too.
What's that,
I
Justin?
don't agree with that.
I don't
In
either.
Course of Miracles, it is too.
Yes, exactly. In the Course of
it's
Miracles.
even worse than in it's ridiculous.
Right. So, it's demonized, and I don't think that's right. It is, like I said in the post, if you let it control you, of course it's going to be unhealthy. Anything's the case like that. If you let anything control you, it's going to be unhealthy. But we wouldn't have it if it didn't have a purpose.
That's exactly my point.
Right. So using it as a tool just means, okay, put it in its proper context, make it how it was meant to be.
But how?
Okay,
so
I take time to get to my point. That's why I talk so long.
I'm sorry.
That's the Eastern training.
It's my Eastern training. Yeah, I could talk for hours. That's right. I'll get around there eventually. So, anyway.
Any day now.
Yeah.
I told you I'd get back at you.
Oh, snap.
So, but yeah, using it as a tool, like I said, just means using it as it was meant to be used. Okay, so your ego is your sense of identity. Now, unlike what non-dual people will say, your sense of identity is very important. Now, where I do agree with them is that you should have a sense of independence from your ego. Okay, you should have a sense of autonomy from your ego. Okay, where this is the sense of I think in that post I called it I-ness.
Yes. Yeah.
This is that I-ness, but it doesn't mean I have to get all caught up in that. Because the I thought is just a thought, okay? It's not anyone's specific thought. It's just a thought that gets caught up and includes a whole bunch of other thoughts with it and all that. So that's all it is. So, were you going to say something?
Well, you can finish your point. I was just going to add on to it.
That would be risky because that might take a while.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
No, because it reminds me of I've been studying a lot about independent Catholicism and the liberal Catholic Church, and they're very they mix Christianity and magic and all that stuff together. And so I was listening to a priest in the movement, and he was talking about the very same thing.
Right.
About a lot of people will say I'm a carpenter, I'm whatever job, I'm a healer, I'm a whatever. But really what you are is you're a spirit, you're a spiritual being encompassed in a very awkward physical body.
Right.
Human experience.
And even I came across I didn't have a name for it when I wrote this post last week. But on Reddit, on most random, it was the astral projection subreddit. Believe it or not.
There you go.
I came across this comment and someone called it idealism. Okay, so the idea, I laid this out in the post. The idea is that, actually, no, this was not in the trust. No, this was in the Deliberate Creator post. That you're a deliberate creator. Be quiet, whoever's laughing at me.
It wasn't me, I promise.
I don't think so. Anyway.
I'm just kidding.
So the point was that, it's not that matter. Okay, we have the paradigm that matter is primary. That we have this physical world all around us, and that consciousness comes out or is embodied within matter. What you just said, Christine, reminded me that you said our soul is embodied in a very awkward physical vessel.
That's exactly what this guy said.
Right?
You would have loved it.
So, but that's how it appears, right? But my view of it is that the body or matter is within consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that the soul is in a body, it's that the body is in consciousness. The idea of body. Fran, did you read that post on being a deliberate creator?
No.
Okay.
I've got to catch up. I'm going to do a catch up this weekend.
No, I
I'm gonna
don't
read all of
care.
them.
I was
No,
just
I
asking.
want to. I just I didn't.
Quiet voiceover. When it's recording, it says pause. Like it was trying to say pause, but it keeps saying pause. That sounds like it's stuttering. Anyway, did you hear that, Christine?
No, I wasn't really paying attention.
It is.
Oh.
Wait, no, I can't stop it. Stop. There we go. Okay. So,
Pause.
it sounds like it's stuttering. Okay. Back on task. So what I said in that post is that you have the body idea within consciousness, not consciousness within the body, within a physical body. So the paradigm that we look at is that consciousness is primary, not matter. Okay, so what ego says, ego is basically here to convince us, at least temporarily, that matter is primary. It's just like and that the person is primary, that the person is a real construct. Okay, it's just like in a dream. That's why all these people call it a dream. And in a dream, you're supposed to believe that it's real. It's not real. It's all in your head. It's literally all in your head, right? This whole complex world in a dream is all in your head. Now, some people can become lucid in a dream. I have very small handful of times. It's something I want to do more often, but haven't really worked at it. But you can become lucid in a dream, but the structure of it is that you are supposed to believe it's real, okay? Even though it's not real. It adds to the feel of it. I mean, what would be the point of a dream if you thought they weren't real? You know what I mean? It wouldn't really have any emotional, impact. It's supposed to, right? It's supposed to help your subconscious to vent its programs, its beliefs that it wants to get rid of. It's basically the point of a dream. So it's the same thing in physical reality, where you're, when I say supposed to, I'm not saying it's bad not to, but the default programming, the default settings that you believe that this is real, that this is primary, that you are a real person within this physical world, right? The reality is that you are consciousness, inside of which is this dream construct called a quote-unquote physical world, and you are imagining yourself as a person within that world. Okay. That's ego. That's what ego is. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that makes sense before I go on.
Got a little esoteric.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it, but I guess maybe my question was.
Oh, I know what your question is.
I just wanted to kind of nail it down to.
Right, and that's what I'm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so you're giving me a background here.
You get what I'm saying, though. What the ego is exactly, why it's here. The ego is here to convince you you're a person.
But why would it want to do that? Why would the universe construct us at the dream that way? Because
you are meant to grow.
If I may?
Yeah, please.
The ego is basically so self-centered. It has to have something to hold on to.
I know all that.
So it has to push itself as a physical, tactile thing. Whatever you need or want has to be physical, tactile.
Right.
So when you start thinking in that sense, the spiritual ends up being like too far-fetched in some instances, in some details or topics because of that.
Right.
Well, yeah, I understand
what it
that.
is. I mean,
I'm just wondering why would it even be
right. Well, here's why.
In the mix, so to speak.
Here's why. The point of incarnation, and I probably will write about this one day, because it's one of my top keywords that my one program is telling me to write about. Why are we here is one of my top keywords. But the point of incarnation is to grow. Now, people will hate that I say this, but we grow through. We had this whole discussion in the interview podcast with Natalie Thompson about suffering versus what do we call it? Like tension or whatever.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
I'm not going to say suffering. Suffering is sort of, you never have to suffer, but we grow through discomfort. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
We grow through discomfort. You can't grow without discomfort. Now, if you come in here and you know that you are this infinite being, not only an infinite being, but the infinite being, the infinitude of the entire universe. I always love that.
Point of being here, right?
Infinitude was a word.
Right. It is now.
No, it actually is. When I took philosophy, they used that word all the time. I'm like, that's such an awesome word. that you are the universe. You are consciousness, undifferentiated, undistinguished, then there's nothing to suffer. You can't, because you're above it all. You're so beyond above it all that it just can't even touch you. It's like an ant versus a person. It's such a different scale. You're supposed to lose perspective. You're supposed to come down here on this lower level. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm. Right, because otherwise the ego would be irrelevant at that stage, but there's a reason for it.
And that's why Zen, that's why Buddhism says that, without, well, I don't like how they say it, without desire, there's no suffering. Without, the belief in I, there's no suffering. Because all suffering is tied up in the belief of I. Okay? So that's just a fact of life. Okay, so, that's, the ego is here to force a perspective change, a perspective shift to this lower level. And so that you can basically climb your way back up and realize once again that you're not the ego. I mean, it seems sort of circular, but that's the whole point. Point is, the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it, split itself off in order to experience itself, in order to come back together, basically. Right?
Well, I was under the impression also that the ego is here to kind of, each person, it latches onto our patterns, and then it wants to continue those patterns in the mistaken, well, maybe not at first, but to try to preserve, to keep us safe.
The patterns hang on to the ego. The patterns can't exist without the ego.
Right. The two are like.
So it's not here to perpetuate the patterns. That's just a fact of being because the ego is here. That's just, that's just what happens. That's a consequence of ego, is that the patterns are perpetuated from lifetime to lifetime. That's just the consequence of it. But the main job of ego is to say, okay, I have to forget that I'm God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the point. So that you can come down here, so that you can learn that you're a creator, so that you can learn that you're God, so that you can learn that, you are this infinite being.
Well, that means the ego is helping you then.
Sure. Oh, yes.
Because it's giving you a sense of yourself and achievement. I mean, that's what seems to be, it also creates this tension between everything and people and getting places and, who, like you said, the identity, we're very identity oriented, label oriented,
Right.
But I guess at this level, it's supposed to be that way.
Yes.
It's like kindergarten or something.
Like
getting a sense of who we are.
Right. Well, it's like the allegory of the cave. You have all these people watching the shadows on the wall. You're not supposed to watch the shadows on the wall. That's just sort of what you're doing. Well, you're supposed to temporarily, but then you're supposed to realize that there's shadows on the wall and let yourself be freed of the chains, and go out and see the real truth of things, right? Everyone familiar with the allegory?
Yeah.
Okay. So, just making sure. No, I'm a philosophy major, so.
I've heard it. I've never practically used it or messed with it, but we've mentioned it.
That's my favorite. I love the allegory of the cave. So anyway,
oh my gosh.
So we have a stray cat outside that's like meowing.
Really, really meowing a lot.
I don't know if you can hear it.
I love cats.
But anyway, so yes, you are watching those shadows on the wall. Now, what we're here to say, hey, actually, those shadows aren't real. They don't hold any threat. They don't hold any fascination. They have nothing to offer. So why don't you come along and actually see what's true, right? That's the whole point of all this. But in order to do that, in order to have that discovery, you have to be chained up to begin with. It's sort of, it seems like
duality.
Right. It seems like a cycle,
Yeah.
But it is a cycle. It's, you have to be chained up in order you can get unchained and discover the truth.
So we
Or
have to
else,
have
what's the whole point?
ego constricting you in order to break free.
So now, the ego as a tool, especially when it comes to magic, law of attraction, whatever.
Just daily life, like if you find yourself going through a bad, really difficult period, and you know that the ego is got a tight hold on you, and you're trying to, as in your blog, to take the control and the balance back, and
right.
and
Well, the ego is
change
too
the
strong
role,
when you're letting it
change the
control
role
you.
of the ego.
Right, exactly.
In your life. So as just a practical daily kind of a thing, what kind of what would you suggest doing?
Well, that's when the ego is in control.
Yeah.
Well, that's I mentioned that in the post. You have to realize your separation from ego. You have to realize you are not that ego. You have to realize that, you have the control. Okay? You have the control. And then take that back. You have the higher self, the greater part of you. That's who you are. You're not this little part that's afraid of things. Okay? So you have to, I mentioned meditation, anything like that. Anything to separate yourself from the ego. Mindfulness, meditation, all that stuff. This is just the start of the path. I don't want to say basic. I'm not trying to insult, but, this is what you have to do to get the job done, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know it is basic, but
no, it's okay.
It comes back. Because, from the time we're born, we're identifying with the ego. And that's how the outside world, most people who are not on a spiritual path are operating. So it's very easy to fall back into the I-ness, so to speak.
Sure.
And not even realize you're doing it.
Sure.
Even when you think you've made progress.
Right. So, how is it a tool? Mostly it's a tool in creation, and you sort of, when I said creation and magic and law of attraction, you sort of corrected me and said, well, just in practical everyday life. You're asking me to separate magic from everyday life, which you cannot do. You cannot separate magic from everyday life. Mm-hmm. They're one and the same. They are inseparable. They are exactly the same thing.
Okay.
As you realize your identity as a creator, you overcome ego. You truly live. Creators, create. They control. They form the reality they want. Victims do not. They are subject to the whims of basically ego, of the universe, of the world, whatever. Right? They're not really, but that's
not the universe though, because you're talking.
Well,
this whole
sure.
blog is about trusting the universe.
Yes, but when
the universe wants the best for you, that's what you're.
The universe doesn't want anything. The universe
well,
is.
no, I know it doesn't have feelings.
Indifferent.
Right.
But
the rules of the universe are such
but what I'm saying is, it feels as though you're at the whim, of the universe, and you're kind of getting thrown around and beat up when you're in the victim mentality, right? So now, what's the use of ego at all? Basically, it can be fun. I mean, if you were all the way, let's say, zoomed out into this infinite being that you are, it's like, okay, why do I want more money? Read some of the experiences of people who went through enlightening experiences, awakening experiences. Like, who was it? Was it Hawkins, who was so separated from everything? He lived under a bridge for his wife had to come get him to force him to come home. Like, there was just no point. Any of the, Eckhart Tolle, he lived on a bench in the park for a while, not because he had to. Just what's the point, right? So ego grounds you. It brings you back down. You have to live 1 foot in the universe, 1 foot in the physical.
Right.
Okay, I mean, you just have to, and it's fun. It's like saying why lucid dream? Well, because it's a lot of fun.
I didn't Eckhart Tolle. When did he live?
He's still alive.
Very
Okay,
long.
He lived in a park for a while.
Yeah. So
how did he come out of that?
I don't honestly know. I don't resonate with him a lot, so I don't really know a lot of the story.
Interesting there.
Yeah. A lot of them.
It's glorified depression.
No, it's the opposite.
I read a little bit
It's
about
actually
him.
the opposite.
It's the opposite.
He just said eventually he just started. He got out of it on his own.
Well, what Adyashanti says is that there's a stage where you have to ground the whole experience. You can't stay in samadhi forever. You have to ground the whole experience, and there's this wonderful saying, like, what's the rivers and mountains? Once rivers appear to be rivers, mountains appear to be mountains, and trees appear to be trees. I'm getting out of order. And then, rivers no longer appear to be rivers, and mountains no longer appear to be mountains, and trees no longer appear to be trees. And then once again, mountains were mountains, and rivers were rivers, and trees were trees. Like, the whole point, when I was in delusion, I thought everything was what it was. Mountains were actually mountains, and rivers were actually rivers. And then when I was enlightened, I realized mountains were not actually mountains, and rivers were not actually rivers. But then once everything got grounded again, okay, mountains are mountains again. You know what I mean? So it gets grounded into reality. Like right after an awakening experience, you can't, this is universal among experiences, you can't really, let's say, use the word I, because it seems so preposterous. Eventually that comes back. Eventually you can, right? I had such an experience in 2014. And for about a month or so, I just couldn't use the word I without really thinking I was lying or just laughing at it, right? So that's...
Do you remember you went to church?
Oh, God, I laughed so hard because everyone believed so sincerely in this mythology, and thought that it was required for happiness. It was just, yeah. So, but then it has to get grounded again. You have to come back to the earth. You have to come back to ego a little bit. Ego death is a misnomer. There's no such thing. It's maybe ego control, ego, like subduing the ego, whatever, but it's not ego death. So
wherever I read that it tries to keep you safe, even misguidedly so, but that was not correct.
Well, yeah, listen to the podcast this weekend. The unconscious mind does try to keep you safe, but it does so in a very odd way. Now, you can train it to know what safe actually is, but most people don't. If you want to call that ego, the reason I don't use the word ego a lot is because it's bandied about so much and identified with all these different things, the subconscious, the unconscious, it's sort of underneath all that. Ego is just the I thought. All the other stuff is on top of that. All the other stuff is as a result of. Okay? The ego is just literally the I thought. It's just the thought I am. I am blank. A person. I am, male or female. I am a husband or wife. You know what I mean? That's what the ego is.
Wait, I thought I am was a really powerful spiritual.
Not when it's sort of. Not when it's attached to labels. Okay. That's ego.
So like when Wayne Dyer does a whole meditation take on I am.
Right.
That's in a different paradigm, kind of.
Yeah, what the ego does is says, I am poor, I am this, I am that. I think he's just trying to change the labels. I would rather go beyond the labels and just choose the ones I want to have, but realize that they're not mine. I am is ego. Like, I am something is ego. Let's say I am individuated being, that's ego.
So then that means affirmations aren't useless then, right?
Well, no, affirmations
are
very
I
useful.
I am powerful, I am joyful, I am...
Magic is all about ego. Look, it's both. You again, this is why it's a tool. the point of it all is not to believe in it. Okay? When I went through that enlightening experience back in 2014, I realized every word I spoke, every word anyone spoke was a lie because it couldn't be true. No word could be true. Okay? And it's hard to realize this unless you've had the experience. The best approach to magic is to use it, to believe it, but also realize it's all fake. It's all false. Not because of what you're saying is necessarily false, but because you're beyond that. This is just, you're using these concepts. I used to have this concept called useful lies. Remember that, Christine?
No.
That was when I had awakening to silence or whatever, awakening to silence. I used to call them useful lies. And I've heard other names for them, but it's basically this thought that, yes, everything is a lie, but some of them are useful to keep around. So I am abundant is a lie because what you are is beyond all of that, but it's a useful lie because it helps you to be abundant here in the dream.
Right.
Because it's just like how you're not, like, everything really is like non-dual.
Right.
But you have to go down into the dual part.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We wouldn't be here if we hadn't needed to be here.
Magic
so
uses,
we do need
right.
to live the dream. Obviously, there's nothing that horrible about living the dream.
Right, exactly. The best approach, like I said, the best approach to magic is to to use the ego, but not to believe anything that it says.
And using it as what?
Using it
as a tool.
As a tool.
Well,
right.
there we go back to what I asked.
Well, that's everything I just described. Using it to believe the things, convincing your subconscious that these things are true, while knowing on a deep level yourself that nothing is, none of it's all concept. It's all concepts.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's all concepts, okay, if everything's a story, if I'm reading a story to you, and that story becomes, let's say, perceived reality, what you have the choice. Do you want a scary story or a nice story? They're both stories. But you have the choice. Why choose the scary story?
Because people are nuts.
Right?
I want to read them.
So choose the nice story, but you still know it's a story. You have the choice of what concepts you choose. You have the choice of what concepts you allow to be programmed into your subconscious mind. I always recommend keeping a degree of separation, because that's just to keep yourself away from ego. But that's a very advanced thing, though, obviously.
How can you catch it when it's sort of when you find yourself going through a day?
Mindfulness.
So really just being in the moment constantly.
Yes and no. I mean, enough that you know when you're going off course. Look,
Yeah.
I don't like saying always live in the present, because
Right.
law of attraction and magic
That's right.
is actually
you can't
about
create that way.
magic is about, in a way, lying to yourself. It's about saying, this is what I want, it's not here yet, but I'm going to focus on it anyway. I'm going to have the vision to focus on it anyway, even though it's not real right now.
Right. That takes you out of the moment.
But again, like I'm saying, it's all a story. So if this reality I'm experiencing, let's say you don't like how much money you're making. Let's say you have the story that you're poor. That's a false story. It's a changeable story. Now, if it's a changeable story, you can change it to I am abundant. They're all changeable and therefore false, transient stories. But you can decide on the story you'd rather live. That's the whole thing about lucid dreaming. That's the whole thing about using the ego as a tool. If you're going to use the ego, which the ego is always going to believe in stories, get it to believe in the stories that are nice.
So does that mean manifestations are stories?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course. The whole thing is a story. The whole thing. From the ground up. But you get to choose, right? So
it makes you enjoy them more.
The ego is going to believe in some story. Now, this is why I say this. If you get caught up in the story and you believe it, then you get the fear of, oh my gosh, what if I lose it? What if I lose it? Now you're identified with it. Now you're attached. Now, what if, I got this money. Now what if I lose it? Well, now you're attached to it. So, it's not going to work out. So that's what this is all about. So that's very advanced. I don't go there often. This discussion took us there. I don't go there often because it's extremely advanced, and it's not necessary unless someone is really at that point. I don't go there too often, right? I have rarely gone there on co-creation coaching, but it's there. All stories are stories. All stories are concepts, and all concepts are false.
But it makes you live the dream even better because ultimately, you can never experience ultimate on this earth.
Right.
Like, you can't experience, you can get glimpses of non-duality.
Right, exactly.
But you can't experience, so when you can't experience stuff, like, completely and fully, then you have to have stories to help you experience them. Like,
yeah.
It's a story. I don't want people to think I'm saying none of this is true. It's a story that the sun rises. It's a story that the moon is in Cancer. It's a story that, we're on the support call right now. Those are stories. They're stories because it could be otherwise, because there probably are parallel realities where that's not true, right?
I was just going to say the quote alternate universes.
Alternate universe, yeah. It's the story
different stories, different outcomes. It could be day instead of night type thing.
Exactly. So I'm not saying this is all delusional. I'm saying that if you take none of it seriously, then you can choose what you want to live. Mm-hmm. It's like in a lucid dream. If you get scared by what the dream's showing you, you're going to lose lucidity and get caught up in it. If you say, that's funny, and just choose what you'd rather experience, that's what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. So,
and it doesn't make the story any less real.
No.
I think it makes it more real, really,
sure.
because it's like you're living it, but you're not attached, so you feel the feelings more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You enjoy life more because you're living it to the fullest.
Say that again, Christine.
Because because the stories are, like, we're not saying that they're less real. Honestly, I think they're more real in a way. Because you're not taking them so seriously, in the end, you're living life to the fullest.
Right.
Yep, gotcha.
Yep.
Because you're allowing whatever conceptual outcomes.
Right.
You're open to those. So if you're attached to them, then you're looking for a specific outcome. Period.
Exactly right, and you're attached to it. You're trying to make it happen. You get really forceful about it. That's not going
to controlling.
I always say, don't create from ego. Create from your true self, your higher self. But you use ego as a tool to create. It's like when you create a painting, you don't believe the painting. On one level, it exists, so it's true. But on another level, it's just a painting. If you get caught up in thinking the painting is true or something, you're not going to be able to create what you want, right? You have to go back a level and say, well, I want to use this pigment, this color, this type of stroke, this, type of paint, whatever. And you can do that. So you realize it's not true. And because it's not true, you can manipulate it to what you want it to be. Does that make sense?
It's like the...
Go ahead, Brenda.
It's the difference between... I'm sorry. It's the difference between a Salvador Dali painting and a painting of a flower that you drew in front of you.
Right.
Right. Salvador Dali, is like warped. Like the melting clocks and things like that. If you're looking at that, that's not quote true.
Mm-hmm.
But in his mind's eye, it was true, so he put it on painting.
But even the flower isn't quite true because you cannot sense anything without adding your own subjectivity to it.
Right.
Right. So even that's
what I'm saying. It's just the difference between the two. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, in the act of creation, which we're all, that's what we're here for. Hopefully, and hopefully it's, positive creation for us. The impetus to do that in the first place is ego, right?
Right, yeah.
It's to establish I'm creating,
Right.
I mean, it gives us that power and that desire, that will, or that, the feeling that we need to do that. That's a good thing.
I think your true desires, I want to kind of jump in there and clarify, I think your true desires are an alignment between your higher self and your soul life purpose and your ego. If it's just an ego desire, that's ego desires are a lot of times going to be out of fear. Okay, I want money because I'm afraid of being homeless, because I'm afraid of not being able to pay the bills. Those you're not going to succeed at. When it's a true desire, and I talked about this in the Trust in the Universe post, I think, when it's a true desire that comes, that really resonates in your soul, it's going to be a lot more powerful, first of all, and it's going to be something that's, feels a lot better. It's not fear-based, right? So I think when it's solely an ego desire, it's going to be fear-based a lot of times, and it's just not going to work because you're going to try to force it. Ego doesn't know how to create. You have to direct it. It's like if you ask the paintbrush, what should I paint?
I won't tell you.
And you just drop it all over the canvas, well, you're not going to get the best result. That's how it is. You have to use the ego. You don't let it decide where to go. You decide where to go, right? So, and that brings me also, so did you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. So, people will say too, a lot of times, I want to clarify, when I say all this, when I say about it has to be in alignment with your higher self, I've heard this, there's been this idea going around in the comments here and there that desires can't be selfish. You can't want money just to have money. That is absolutely categorically untrue. It doesn't have to be this philanthropic, higher-minded ideal. It doesn't have to be that. No.
I think you've written actually about that.
Yes.
Saying it's perfectly okay to create just because you want
You
it.
are not here.
You don't have to give any reason.
People will always say, like, oh, we're here to help everyone. Not all of us. Some of us are here to help ourselves because we had a really tough time in our last lifetime or something, and we just need to learn. We just need to have experiences.
Right, because don't your previous lifetimes kind of influence,
they
because
color
of
your
karma?
Well, I don't like that word, but yeah.
Because of what you've experienced.
Your experiences, right. Right, so
can I ask a question?
Yeah, no. Of course you can ask a question.
No, so what about...
Absolutely not, Chris. Absolutely not.
So what about people who... I don't think I quite agree with him, because it was this same priest or whatever that was talking about people that, how do I explain it? People that, and I didn't tell you this, that want money at the expense of someone else. Now, he says that, because he was talking about spiritual defense and black magic and stuff like that.
Okay. So
he was saying that it's not good to want a desire at the expense of someone else.
That just depends.
Can you define at the expense of someone else?
Broad.
Like if someone else got a really good job or something, but you're pitying yourself because you didn't, or you want what they got or something like that.
Well, okay.
But
right.
Yeah.
That's just being envious. That's not.
Remember when we had the conversation about every man and woman is a star?
Yeah.
From Aleister Crowley. If you're holding to your true desires, you are not at fault if what you get takes from someone else incidentally.
Incidentally, yeah.
Incidentally.
Well, it's not because you create it for them. It's
not
because,
intentionally.
Right. Incidentally.
Like if someone else got it and you didn't or something, and you.
Right. So if I go and get this really competitive job, obviously there's possibly hundreds of other people who didn't. Should I feel bad about that? No. They didn't create it. It wasn't their path, or they weren't on their path, so they couldn't create it. It was on my path.
Or it could have just been also that my will was stronger
Right, exactly.
That's okay.
I
There's
will
nothing
not
wrong with that.
feel guilty for creating, in some way. I mean, and we have this thing about money sometimes. There's only so much money in the world. Okay, and yes, tons of it, but only so much. Still, it's a finite number. Like I read Genevieve Davis, her books about magic. She said, if every single person applied these principles to become millionaires, being a millionaire wouldn't mean anything. Right? If you have $1, that's $1 someone else doesn't have. That's the reality of money. If someone pays me for a service, they are giving me money that I now have and they do not have. But I'm exchanging it with a service, obviously. So anything is going to, in an indirect way, take from something or someone else.
Right.
Now, I know you want to say something.
No, go ahead.
Now, the question is, are you doing that intentionally or not? If I say, I don't want the other guy to have this job, so I'm going to apply for it and get it.
I think that's what he meant more than anything.
Then that's, well, first of all, why would you? I don't get the motivation behind it. Okay, so, but if you're on your true path, if you are, like I said, every man and woman is a star. If you're being a star, you're in your orbit, then everything you do is perfect.
Right. That's
and
what
if
I
that
thought.
clashes with someone else, that's their fault because they're not being a star.
Right.
They're not in their orbit. They're clashing with you.
Well, yeah, you can't
Right?
live. You can't live that way.
No.
Of saying,
Right.
well, if I
So-
do this, how is this going to affect someone else?
It's like those people and I don't mean to put any religious belief down, but I think is it Janus or who won't walk on grass because it'll harm the grass. Well, nature is based on harm. It's based on animals kill other animals, or even on the lower part of the food chain, they eat plants, which hurts the plants. I mean,
Yeah, right.
food is death. I'm sorry, food is death. Okay, my Hades is showing. I'm sorry.
That was in the autobiography of Yogi, too, because
Right.
the plants feel pain.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
Well,
What are you going to do?
you're gonna,
Yeah.
You
food.
got to eat.
Food is death. Survival and death are integrally, tied together.
And we all die sometime, and so does plants and nature.
I'm
And
thinking about the Lion King, the Circle of Life. But
basically, it's you have to do something, and at some point that resource comes to you, and not it just
right.
it's just the nature of the beast.
Right. So if you're living your path, if you're being the star, if you're in your orbit,
right.
then you're perfect. You're fine.
I think there are people that
You're
do
blameless.
get envious and stuff. And
Sure.
that's not
Well,
right.
now, how I define white and black magic, and this kind of became clear to me recently because we were talking about it in the comments. White magic is not helping others, and black magic is harming others. That's a very, childish definition.
Simplistic.
Right. Black magic is when I'm going against the flow, but I'm going to do it anyway to get what I want egoically.
I like that.
That's black magic, okay?
That's right.
If I'm going against the flow, okay, if you're trying to get that job and the universe is showing you again and again and again, that's not in the flow, and you're saying, I don't care, I'm doing it.
I don't care.
I'm sorry?
Anyways. I don't care. I'm doing it anyways.
Right, that's black magic. If you want a relationship with a specific person, this is the context in the comments, we talked about this,
Oh, love spells?
and
Oh, boy.
it's not in the flow, they're not connecting with you, they're not really into you, you can proceed, but it will be black magic,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
So,
kind of like the stalker thing.
sure, well, yeah.
They're trying to. They are.
They're trying to
actually
force their
thinking
will.
that they're, and they think delusionally. Well,
Right.
That the other person's gonna,
So,
eventually.
you can do white magic and it can harm someone else. That's possible because they're not in their orbit. They're not in their on their true path.
If it's justified, it's
Right.
not black. It's God driven or whatever. It's
Exactly.
justified. It's white magic. You just did, what you did.
Right. So
Well, just like massage therapy is a great thing, but you can hurt somebody too.
right. So black magic is when you're not in your orbit and you're forcing your way anyway to, force your will. That's black magic. As long as you're in your orbit, as long as you're on your true path, you're not going to do black magic. And that's why you really have to take the signs seriously when the universe says, nah, don't go this way. Okay? I'm not saying you're going to get punished or like bad karma, but there will be consequences. There will absolutely be consequences.
Is what you reap, you sow kind of thing?
Right,
sort of?
but I'm not saying like God's going to judge you or something. I'm
No.
just saying there will be consequences.
Just it bounces back at
yes, there will be
just
consequences.
depends
Right.
on
So
how,
right, so that is black magic. That became very clear to me just recently because we were talking about this. I said, okay, that's when you go against the flow.
Yep.
When you go against your true path because you foolishly think you need something that is actually not on your path, and so you forced it. That's black magic.
Mm-hmm.
So and it'll have bad results. It'll have definitely bad fruits.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's you can tell. I mean, yes, you can force it. You have free will, but it's not going to be for your highest good at all.
No.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a much more refined definition of
I really like it.
white versus black magic. So
Yeah.
something to keep in mind.
Unless you're thinking about killing people and things,
Well,
spells.
that's
But-
almost always going to be.
It's the same
Well,
thing. If
Well, yeah, isn't that
Right.
what is the that Haitian
that's
religion?
Voodoo?
Voodoo.
no, I'm saying no. I wouldn't get too much into that. I'm just saying like it's the same principles. It's the
Right.
same universal laws,
Right.
just applied differently depending upon what deity or pantheon you follow.
Sure.
The
Sure.
Voodoo is a beautiful religion. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but
Right.
What
Right.
there are
religion?
things that,
Voodoo.
yeah, the Voodoo or Voodoo, whichever one you call it.
Oh.
But it's whatever you. I mean, different things go in Voodoo that do not go in, say, Druidism
Right.
Right.
or
Right.
Wicca.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
that alignment is a little different.
Yep.
Mhm.
It doesn't change the basic white and black magic. It just changes the outcome in those religions and how they identify with the universe.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I understand.
So, back to what I was saying before, it's not. It doesn't. If something is just, let's say, selfish. I really don't like that word because that has such negative connotations. But if something is just because you want it, it's just benefiting you. It doesn't mean it's black magic. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's not from your higher self. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. People like all this like sacrificial stuff and whatever. Like, you're supposed to enjoy yourself. That's also why you're here. Right?
That's right.
So,
Whoa.
is that wind?
Or rain.
Wow. It's either really windy or really raining.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not.
And
Yeah. go
that's
ahead.
one of the downfalls
That's
of
rain.
religion.
Oh,
If you're
yeah.
enjoying yourself, there's something wrong.
Exactly. They make us
Yeah.
question it. And in spirituality, it's like the same thing. It's like, oh, who can sacrifice the most? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
It's
That's what I like about liberal Judaism, is that there's absolutely no problem with enjoying yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with enjoying yourself. Like there's no problem at all. Again, if you're on your path, you're going to be doing the highest good. So it doesn't matter. Not everyone is here to serve the whole world or to, something like that.
Yeah.
That's not always true. If that's you, that's you. But don't judge someone else who's, making tons of money from investing in the stock market. And say, oh, what's the highest good in that? Well, it's
That's what
obviously
he
working
wants
for
to do.
them.
Someone has to do it.
Someone has
Yeah,
to do it.
It's what he wants to do. That's what he needs to do.
Or like people who, let's say, I see so many spiritual people, and it drives me up a wall.
They definitely shouldn't be judging him.
So many people on my newsfeed, especially spiritual people. I'm friends with all these spiritual people who hate Trump.
Oh, I know.
And because they think he's selfish and only looks out for himself, and well, that's probably the case a lot of times. But no one said
I
that's
dislike him.
That's not why I dislike him.
And the same thing with Hillary. It's not why I dislike her. I just kind of, it's like, it's just, I just don't. I don't have a problem with anybody's.
Right.
If they want to do something and it's available,
right,
they have a right to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Trump's going against the flow.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Actually,
I'm just saying,
I don't think
He's
so.
disrupted so many lives.
But see, what I'm saying about that is, that's kind of, you still don't, just because I perceive that it's against the flow, honestly, unless you do a full-on divination, you don't really know that.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I want to say. Like,
do a divination.
The thing is, I've been trying to be so careful lately because if you watch the media, you're going to see all the bad things and none of the good things.
Yep.
I did a tarot reading back in October, if you remember.
And it's not against the flow.
Or was it? No, was it after he won?
It was after he won.
It was after he won, and
November.
I will be upfront. I did not vote for him, and
I didn't either.
But the reading was extraordinarily positive, which I was shocked.
And actually, I got the same with some other people.
And
we created him.
But
listen to what Brandon is saying.
As I look at his presidency so far, a month and a half or so in, I'm not saying everything's perfect. I'm not saying he's a shining example of a human being. What I am saying is that his presidency has been in the flow so far. Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
Actually,
okay. I don't want to get into this.
No, it's fine.
You guys can talk about it.
No, it's fine. You don't have to. What were you going to say, Justin?
No, I see. I see what you're saying. I don't like him though, but I mean,
I
agree
don't. His personality grates on me.
I agree with what you're saying.
But
it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't meant to.
Right.
Once again, when you are in judging anyone's actions, whether it's at work or anyplace else, you actually have to do a divination to see spiritually where.
And so here's what I'm saying. All these spiritual people on my news feed are judging him and hating him, posting all these negative articles, and I want to scream sometimes and say, okay, you're putting more fear and hatred out there, and that's all you're going to get back. So you're just going to see the negative side of him because you're putting all this fear out there. And if you pause and look and just sense the flow and just let things be and trust that the universe is doing what it's doing, you'll see the positive, right? Fear does not go. I'm not, like I said, I mean, whatever your views are your views. I'm not telling you what to think.
I don't care what anyone's view is,
But putting fear out there, putting hatred out there is just going to result in more of the same. That is never the solution. Okay? It has to start with you. And
you're not doing the universe a favor either by putting fear out.
Right, exactly.
Keep it to yourself.
It's contagious. It gets spread around.
And then you're going to harm more people than heal them.
Right. That is, I mean, that too is black magic.
Yeah.
You're going against the flow. Right? And that doesn't have good fruits because you suffer. Other people suffer. Right? So that's what I'm saying. When you're based in fear and all that, you're not on your path. You're not in orbit.
And, there is a reason that the Bible says, don't judge lest ye be judged.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
So, like I said, whatever your political views are fine.
And you don't have to like him, but
what I'm saying is that, it is not productive to go out and judge and to be fear-based and hateful. And even if someone were the worst person in the whole world, there are much, much better ways to go about things.
Yeah.
Even if I do the quote unquote spell against them, it needs to be from a justice
higher place.
It's like I'm going to do it, but I will make sure that I'm not judging you to the best of my ability when I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm not going to withhold. You're not supposed to do that because that's harming you. So I'm not going to do that. But when you are in situations, you're like, oh man, this person's doing this and this. No, you need to actually do a full meditation /
it's not always as it
on
appears.
that.
Right.
You need to see what's going on.
As long as you're, when you're in that feeling, when you're in that state of like outrage and anger, That's not the higher self. You have to get separated from that in order to really see what's going on down deep and what the best path is, So that's something very few people are doing, unfortunately. So that's why I'm saying it here. But
and they litter Facebook with it, and we don't want to see that.
Gosh, so it's just you just have to I always say practice what you preach. I guess if you talk about love, practice love, right? So so that's what that is. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? We have about 10 minutes left. Or 15, we started a little bit late.
Thanks for answering all that.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It was a really good... took us into some really interesting places.
Yeah.
It took us really interesting places. Do you have any other questions? Fran or Brenda? Or
No.
Justin,
No.
I... Actually, my main plan for today was to talk about... next week, I'm talking about how to speed up a manifestation. And that was going to be a topic I did today. I don't know if there's... I'm probably going to do a little bit, I guess. There's some time left. But because a lot of people have been asking about, okay, how do you, if you have a manifestation you're working on and you're really impatient about it, how do you get to come faster?
Yeah.
Right? Because, look, I mean, you can't be impatient, but it also shouldn't take a lot of time. Now, if it's like an ultimate level goal, then yeah, it's going to take a while. But you should see progress, right? Week after week after week, you should be seeing progress. If you're not, then you're stuck, right? You should be seeing progress. I mean, I know like one of the things Abraham says is like 99, and this is true, 99% of the manifestation process happens energetically. Yeah, but you're going to see progress as you proceed. It's not just going to be, it's not here today. Oh, look, it all came, sometimes that happens, but mostly you're going to see progress, even if it's just in your feelings about it or something, but you're going to see progress. So if you're not, something's stuck. Okay. So the question is, how do you speed up a manifestation? Justin, what do you do? I'm curious about your opinion.
How do I? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I speed up a manifestation? I get into its flow. Sometimes I use magic.
Right.
Which is honestly my go-to. That's what I like to just start.
Yeah, magic is good.
Yeah, but that's what I like to do. But if I'm going to just speed it up with law of attraction, one thing I do is go into it deep and figure out what's hanging it up. Like, I go sometimes real deep into my energy, subconscious, my spirituality, into the flow, and go, okay, what's hanging it up? And sometimes what you have to do is get rid of it, the stuff that's hanging it up first, and then it'll be a lot smoother.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of one way. I know that's probably not a classic way most people do it, but
isn't that the resistance you're talking about?
Yeah, right. But it's real deep. Like it's one of those, what little things are holding it up? It's almost like capillaries. You got like, it's almost doing that, trying to clear them out. That's one way I really use, actually a good bit. So those two ways, and then the other way, sometimes I just purposely speed up the energy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Easier said than done, Justin.
Yeah.
I've been trying to think. You laughing at?
Nothing. Sorry. Not you, Justin. I promise. It's something else.
She's laughing at me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been trying to find the best, and that's why I love talking about this here, because I don't know, speaking out loud helps me to think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I've been trying to think about the best metaphor. I love analogies are great for understanding this stuff. I love the analogy we're using in this weekend's podcast. It's the best.
Which
analogy.
one?
The pendulum.
Oh, that one.
Yes. The pendulum. All right. I have one for this one, but I hope it's clean enough. Okay. or clear enough.
Clean.
Well, you know what I mean. Like I hope
Cut
it's
clean. Cut and
Trying
dry.
to speed up the waves, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. What is your?
okay. I've used this metaphor before of an airplane. Okay, I'm sorry. I used to be really, really fascinated by. I still am, but I used to be really into airplanes. So I learned a lot about like aerodynamics and one time I programmed like a little accessible game where you got to fly like a on the computer an airplane and had to try to land and all that kind of stuff. I love airplanes. I always told Christine if I could see, I'd be a pilot. I love airplanes. So anyway, how to speed up a manifestation? You have to ask yourself what could be slowing it down. Okay.
What I do.
Right. Okay, over there.
Yeah.
Okay, it felt like you were still laughing.
No.
Anyway, so there are basically 3 properties you have to look at with energy. Now, I don't really have good names for this energetically, like when it comes to energy, but with airplanes, okay, you have your direction that you're flying in, right, where your destination is. You have the speed you're flying at, and you have your altitude, right? That pretty much summarizes it. I mean, aerodynamically, there's a lot more, obviously, but that's pretty much those 3 components are really your main elements. Okay, so this is where the next level goals versus current level goals come in. When you have a next level goal you're working on, and that's tension. I've mentioned that's tension, and for me, like in the metaphor, that's like the airplane having to climb to a new altitude, which takes more energy, takes more speed, takes more fuel. It just requires more effort versus flying level, right? So what increases the momentum? There's really one main thing, is your emotions. I know it's pretty basic, but it's the emotions versus your resistance. So if your resistance is too much, it's going to drag you back, okay? But the thing is that if you increase the momentum too much to begin with, we all know what happens. It hits you with resistance, right? So airplanes have this interesting thing where as you increase the speed, the drag increases. The air resistance increases. That's sort of the same thing, right? As you try to move the energy faster, you're hitting into more resistance. So there's this balance of how fast you're going versus how much drag there is, how much resistance there is on the energy through the subconscious structures. And with the next level goal, like I said, when you're climbing up to a new altitude, there's going to be more resistance because you're not there yet. You have to move up. You have to move to that next level. Okay? So you have to keep a balance through the whole thing between emotions, resistance, always keeping the will. The will is really what's pulling you up to that next level. And the focus. The focus is your direction. That's where where your focus is, where the energy is going. Okay? If you remember the will, focus, and emotions? That's the 3 elements of magic I talked about like forever ago.
Yep.
Missing any of those, you're not going to have very fast energy, or you're not going to go where you want to go. If you have focus and emotions but no will, you're going to stay at the current level. You don't have the momentum or let's say the lift to move up to that next level without the will. Okay, if you have focus and emotions, if you focus on abundance and you feel good about it, what you're going to get is abundance and alignment with your current subconscious structures. That's what you're going to get. The moment you try to go above that, you're going to run into resistance. That's the will. Now, if you drop that and say, I actually, it's too much, I can't go there, then you're back to your current level. So feeling good, focusing on abundance, fine, but you're going to keep at your current level. All right? Even if, you really speed up with high emotions, you can do that, But again, you're going to keep at your current level, and eventually, you're going to burn yourself out because the current level doesn't feel very high emotionally, so there's no need for that.
Isn't that what Abraham said? Pretty much keeps you there. They say feel good, focus, and that's about it.
No, well, that's what they say will just keep you at the current level. So,
that's what I was saying.
Exactly,
yeah.
right. So if you have the will and emotion and no focus, then you're going all over the place. You could be going in the direction you want to in one moment, and then the other moment you could be going in the opposite direction, right? Abundance, poverty, abundance, poverty. If you don't have the focus to go where you want to go, to keep your eye on the vision, so to speak, you're never sure that you're going in the right direction. So the focus is your direction. If you have will and focus and no emotions, you don't have fuel. You don't have energy to get there. It takes higher. The bigger the difference between the current level and where you want to be, the more emotional energy it requires. Okay, so that's at first. As you start to draw close, it becomes normal. So you don't want to try to keep up that, it's like, again, in an airplane, you don't keep up that speed even after you reach your target altitude. You slow down to a cruising altitude and the speed you're going to go at. You don't keep trying to go faster, right? People will do this where they try to keep excited and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to work. But at first, the bigger that gap, the more emotions you need, right? And so if you have will and focus and no emotions, you have nothing to push you forward. If I say, I want abundance, and I'm going to focus on abundance, but I'm going to do it in a way that I just feel blah, I'm not going to move. Okay? That's the relationship between those three elements. Now, again, you need all three. And as you speed up, especially when you go into the next level, you're going to encounter resistance. So the two ways to increase your momentum, to speed up manifestation, because the faster the energy is moving, the faster it will come, is either to increase the emotions or to decrease the resistance. Usually it's going to be both. Okay? I know it seems kind of simplistic, but it's just in this larger framework. I hope that helps. But what's that?
Oh, man, nothing. Go ahead.
We'll be done in a second. So those are the two methods. If you increase emotions, again, you have to keep it balanced, just like an airplane. You can't go as fast, there's a limit to how fast you can go. If you go faster than you're comfortable with, the resistance will tear you apart and you'll actually get hurt as a result, right? Emotionally, mentally, whatever. If you're not going fast enough, then you really could be, you're going to get bored and you're not going to have the lift you need to get to the next level. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's a balance. So you need the will. You need the will to say, this is where I need to be at this next level, higher. You need the focus to say, this is the direction I'm going in. And then you need a balance between emotion and resistance to have the perfect level of, speed, of momentum, of lift to get you to that next level. Too fast and it'll hurt and it'll actually slow you down. Too slow and you won't have enough energy to get there, right? You have to sort of take that on a case-by-case basis. It's very subjective. Justin was saying about doing magic. That can help. One of my new recommendations is going to be maybe once a week, raising a lot of energy and directing it and releasing it.
Doing a spell.
Whether it's a spell or whether it's within yourself, but having a lot of emotional energy there. That way it's really giving it a good push, so to speak. And then the rest of the week, and then once you do that, not focusing on it for like a day. And then the rest of the week, let's say twice a day, just doing a small level visualization or journaling or something that's not high emotion, but just high enough that you're keeping it moving. Okay? That's going to be one of my new recommendations. I'll go into more details with that in the Art of Reality Creation 2.0. But that's going to be really the best way, to balance. Because once you do that big spell or whatever, however you do it, you're going to be experiencing the consequences of that, both positive and negative, throughout the next week. Resistance will come up you have to deal with, and I'll share tools in the class about that. You know, and you just keep it going with the daily or twice daily focus, but it's not as big, not as, you know, huge as the once weekly kind of raising a ton of energy, doing the spell, whatever it is, and releasing it. It's not
When
going
you
to be as
say
big
doing
as
the
that.
spell,
You're going to have to read today's post or yesterday's post.
yeah, okay,
I'm not going to go into it as I
right,
did in the post.
okay,
It doesn't have to be a circle and all that. It can be within yourself. It depends how much energy you need. But it's definitely a good way of getting a lot of energy.
Yeah. And the other one I'd recommend, if you have the ability to do it,
Right.
is going up really high in meditation,
Right.
especially uses of frankincense herbs,
Yeah.
and like literally letting the white light wash the resistance away.
Sure.
That's going very mystical. I don't usually tell people to do that because you have to sort of have.
It's very similar to the technique I'm going to share in the class, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
But more in an NLP context. But I like that too.
I don't tell people to do that because you kind of have to
You have to have enough attachment.
you have to have enough. You have to have enough because you're going to you're going to wipe a lot of resistance out, but it may not all be on that one. But you're going to make sure that you have that particular thing in your focus, and you almost need the right herbs to do it. Like, it's hard to do it on your own to that degree.
Right.
And I happen to have them, and so I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually very mystical.
Sure.
You get a lot going with that, but
Sure.
you kind of have to. It's hard to do.
do you burn the herbs?
Yeah, but like you kind of have to have. Yeah, I burn the herbs and things like that.
That's
That's
awesome.
one of those methods I just started kind of using.
Sure. That's good. So yeah, that's does that make sense? What I'm trying to say about speeding up your manifestation?
Yes.
Of course, it does to you.
Yeah.
I always tell you about these things. All right. Cool. So, any final questions before we go? I appreciate all the discussions today. We had a lot of
It was
really
great.
deep discussions, but I appreciate it. It was really good. So
Yeah, it was good.
I hope
Yeah.
everyone has a great week. I will send out details about the Art of Reality Creation 2.0 in the next couple of days. And otherwise, I hope to see you all next week.
Okay.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Good night.
Have a nice
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.